To understand the depths of Stoic philosophy and how it applies to human relationships, especially between men and women, let's begin with a story from ancient Greece. In the bustling streets of Athens, a young man approached the Stoic philosopher Zeno with a troubled mind. He was deeply in love, yet he found himself torn by jealousy, envy, and insecurities. The woman he adored seemed to express interest in him one moment, only to pull away the next, leaving him in a state of emotional turmoil. With a desperate heart, he asked Zeno, "Why does she do this? Why do her words say one thing, but her actions another?" Zeno looked at him calmly and replied, "Young man, the answer is not found in her actions, but in your mind. You suffer not because of her, but because of the stories you tell yourself." This story exemplifies a fundamental principle in Stoicism, that our suffering often arises not from the actions of others, but from our own thoughts and perceptions. As Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, famously said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." This insight can be applied to the dynamic between men and women in relationships, where misunderstandings and emotional turmoil frequently stem from how we interpret each other's actions rather than from the actions themselves. The Stoic perspective on emotional reactions. The Stoics believed that the path to inner peace lay in controlling our reactions rather than trying to control external circumstances. This is especially relevant in relationships, where emotions can easily cloud judgment. When we feel slighted, ignored, or uncertain about the intentions of the other person, the Stoic approach would be to pause and ask ourselves, is this within my control? To paraphrase Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Rather than getting swept away by assumptions about someone else's intentions, the Stoic approach would be to focus on controlling our own minds, judgments, and responses. When we view our emotions as something external, we create a buffer that allows us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. The lens of suspicion and how it colors perception. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, stated, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In the context of relationships, this means that if we approach others with suspicion or insecurity, those emotions will taint our perceptions. For instance, if a man views women with suspicion, believing that their actions stem from manipulation or deceit, he may miss the genuine connection and trust they offer. This kind of mindset not only damages relationships, but also keeps us from seeing others as they truly are. The Stoic approach teaches us to separate assumptions from reality. By reframing our thoughts and suspending judgment, we allow ourselves to see others as complex human beings with their own fears, hopes, and motivations. This mindset helps us approach relationships with openness and resilience rather than suspicion, understanding the use of emotions as tools of influence. Women, often more attuned to their emotions, may express themselves in ways that can appear strategic or calculated. But Stoicism urges us to refrain from interpreting these actions as manipulation. Instead, it suggests that we view them as expressions of complex human psychology. Seneca, another Stoic thinker, advised, "Do not let the force of the impression carry you away." Recognizing that emotional expression is part of human nature can prevent us from feeling threatened or manipulated. Rather than seeing emotions as weapons, we can appreciate them as ways that people communicate their inner worlds. Women, like men, are shaped by their emotional experiences, and their expressions of those emotions are not inherently malicious. They're simply part of human connection. Facing the inner storm. The role of passion in relationships. Seneca spoke of the dangers of unchecked passion, describing it as a storm that wrecks the mind. In relationships, whether they be romantic or platonic, passion can often cloud our judgment. Love, jealousy, anger, these emotions can quickly lead to impulsive actions that disrupt harmony. However, Stoicism teaches that it is not the presence of these emotions that causes us harm, but our failure to master them. In relationships, this means maintaining our sense of inner calm, even when emotions run high. Stoic philosophy encourages us to cultivate an inner stillness, a quiet mind that is unaffected by the turbulence around us. When faced with the emotional storms of a relationship, we can choose to remain grounded, observing the emotions rather than being overwhelmed by them. This mental discipline, far from making us detached or cold, allows us to engage with others from a place of stability and strength, embracing relationships as a path to inner growth. The Stoic path is not one of avoidance, but of mastery. While some might interpret Stoicism as a call to withdraw from relationships or passions, the philosophy actually views these as opportunities for personal growth. Relationships are, in a sense, a training ground for Stoic virtues, such as patience, resilience, and wisdom. The ancient Stoic Chrysippus argued that relationships allow us to practice empathy and self-control. When confronted with someone else's emotional outbursts or contradictions, we can choose to respond calmly, holding our emotions in check. In this way, relationships become a means to practice Stoic principles in real life, developing virtues that help us live more balanced, harmonious lives. The Stoic approach to attraction and desire. Attraction can be one of the most destabilizing forces in our lives. It can make us feel exhilarated one moment and deeply insecure the next. In the face of such powerful emotions, the Stoics advise us to remember the impermanence of all things. As Epictetus said, "Remember, it is not he who gives abuse or blows, who insults, but the opinion about these things as insulting." This perspective can be applied to romantic attraction, where desire can sometimes lead to obsessive thoughts and irrational fears. To apply Stoic wisdom in matters of attraction, we should remind ourselves that the feelings of desire and insecurity are temporary. By viewing attraction as an external event rather than a core aspect of our identity, we can maintain a sense of perspective and avoid becoming consumed by it. Stoicism doesn't deny the pleasure of romantic connection, but it encourages us not to let it dominate our sense of self-worth. Women as fellow travelers on the path of life. Zeno taught that virtue lies in harmony with nature, and part of that harmony is understanding that people, including women, are not adversaries to be conquered, but companions to be respected and understood. This means recognizing that women, like men, seek connection, understanding, and growth. Viewing women as fellow travelers on the path of life shifts the perspective from competition to companionship. Rather than trying to figure out or control the other person, the Stoic approach would be to value mutual respect, kindness, and a shared journey. By seeing women not as enigmas to solve, but as complex, multifaceted individuals, we cultivate a deeper sense of empathy and respect, practicing inner strength and calm in relationships. The Stoic approach to relationships can be summed up in a single principle: inner strength and calm. When we feel an emotional pull, we can choose to recognize it for what it is: an external event, an impression that we are free to respond to or simply observe. This practice of detachment is not about avoiding emotion, but about observing it without becoming its slave. As Marcus Aurelius observed, if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. In relationships, this means that we must learn to master our own thoughts and reactions rather than trying to control the actions of others. Our true power lies not in changing others, but in mastering ourselves. The Stoic approach to relationships does not teach us to be indifferent or cold, but to engage with others from a place of strength and inner calm. In our interactions with women, we can practice virtues like patience, empathy, and resilience, developing qualities that enhance our character and bring depth to our relationships. By embracing Stoic principles, we can navigate the complexities of human relationships with wisdom and grace. We learn not to be swayed by the whims of attraction or the fears of rejection. Instead, we stand firm like a rock amidst the waves, finding our true strength not in the control of others, but in the mastery of ourselves. In the end, the Stoic path in relationships reminds us that our greatest ally is our own mind, and our truest power lies in our capacity to respond to life with clarity, courage, and compassion.